Part 10. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 91. Chapter 91, Literacy. One more please customize. A few minutes later, Yu Yanhua took several skewers of roasted jerky and said with a smile, "Woo, this is what I just roasted." Subai took the jerky and looked around. After a while, he said with satisfaction, "Not bad, the roasting is much better than before, there is progress." Although the skewers of dried meat were not roasted to a mouth-watering effect, they were not burnt everywhere. Coupled with the addition of chili sauce and salt, the fragrance wafting out makes people can't help but smell it twice. They are all roasted according to the witchcraft instructions. Please give it a try and see how it tastes. I don't dare to add too much salt or chili sauce, Yanhua said expectantly. Subai took a bite of the barbecue, and his brows instantly knitted together, wondering how does the taste feel? How about it? Woo, doesn't it taste good? Yanhua is afraid that she has messed up again. Although there are still some barbecues in the tribe, she can't afford such a waste. The horned lady will still feel guilty. Her barbecued meat is not as good as that of the fox-eared lady, and it will almost always go bad when grilled. Subai was a little dumbfounded and asked, "Did you add too much salt and pepper?" Yanhua scratched her head and said in confusion, "I did what the witch said. I added a little bit of everything, not too much. I also saw it from the side." "Sister Ahua really didn't add much," Yu Ying agreed. Subai hid her face and smiled, and said, "You bake it again and I'll take a look." He wanted to see how much the horned lady and the horned lady added a little bit when they were grilling meat. Yanhua nodded, picked up the barbecue and continued to squat by the fire pit. After a few minutes, Niojiao Niang picked up the salt and poured a little on her hand. The amount was about the size of her thumb. She sprinkled the salt in her palm on 4 or 5 skewers of dried meat. Then, do the same with the chili sauce, dip some leaves in it and brush it on. Seeing this, Subai laughed until his shoulders were shaking and said, "Silly girl, this is too much." He knelt down and demonstrated in person, adding less salt and chili sauce, flipping both sides and passing them to the 2 fox-eared ladies. Yu Ying blinked her pink eyes and said doubtfully, "Woo, this won't be too little." "Yes, I just saw that Wu added a lot of chili sauce," Yanhua followed and said. "You guys should try it first and compare it with yours, and you will know if I added too much," Subai said with a slight smile. Yu Ying took the dried meat, stared at it for a while, opened her mouth and took a bite. After chewing twice, her pink eyes widened. She took another bite and exclaimed, "Woo, why is the meat you grill so delicious every time? Why does witch roasted meat taste better? Is it because of the salt?" "We also added salt before," Yanhua said puzzledly. "My salt is purified and tastes different from the ones I bought at Spotted Deer Market. The most important thing is that it has chili sauce." Subai also took a bite. He found that with these 2 seasonings, the taste was good, and most of the fishy smell of the dried meat was covered up at once. And it didn't taste too greasy, just the way it was eaten before. After 2 skewers, I almost didn't want to touch it for a whole day. "It tastes delicious." Yu Ying's pink eyes looked directly at the barbecue in the fire pit. Subai finished the last skewer and said, "I'm full, you can eat the rest." Yu Ying and Yanhua nodded heavily and said in unison, "Thank you, Wu." The 2 fox-eared ladies squatted happily by the fire pit, whispering to each other. "Sister Ahua, please eat more, there are still several skewers left. You just need to eat more, do so many things every day, and replenish your energy." Subai looked at the 2 girls murmuring and said with a smile, "Come to the classroom with me after you finish eating." "Woo, what are you doing in the classroom?" Yu Ying asked curiously. Yanhua also stood up and asked, "Which, are you going to teach those egg-stealing monkeys to read?" Niojiao Niang recalled what Subai had said before. The purpose of building classrooms is to teach people how to read. "Well, you ask someone to see if Uncle Gumu's sand table is ready, and then send it to the classroom when it's ready, Subai said softly. Yes, Yanhua responded immediately. Subai sipped his saliva and added, let those children gather in the classroom, and also let the children from other tribes come over. Good. Yanhua nodded, turned around and left the tent. Yuying blinked her pink eyes and asked, which, can I also learn to read? Of course, you must be the first to learn it, Subai nodded. He was thinking that as a witch, Yuying must be literate, and she would need to assist in many of the later tasks. Yuying nodded heavily and said seriously, which, don't worry, I will learn to read carefully. Have you finished eating? Let's go to the classroom. Subai stood up and said. Yuying also stood up immediately, stretched out her hand to wipe her face, nodded and said yes, woo. Tap tap tap. Subai and Fox Ear Girl walked out of the tent and walked towards the classroom. Woo, I've already had the sand table brought over, and those little kids are waiting in the classroom. Yanhua said with a smile. Good. Subai nodded and walked into the classroom. At this moment, the animal skins around the classroom have been removed, leaving only the hay on the top. There are also many tables and chairs in the classroom, all of which were made by Uncle Gumu. The table was full of children from the tribe. The children sitting in front were all from the Yanlong tribe, while the children from other tribes sat at the back. They looked very reserved. When they heard that they were coming when they learned how to read, Shanxiang and the others were shocked. They didn't expect to be taken in by this tribe and to have those children learn to read. They were really surprised. Woo, good morning, the children in the classroom said in unison. This is what the adults taught, and the children also know that witches are respected, so they will naturally follow them. Please update for support and customization. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 92. Chapter 92, same as a caterpillar? 2 more please customize. Good morning. Subai raised his hand and pressed it, motioning for them to sit down. He glanced around at the people in the tent. There were all kinds of races, including those with cat ears, long horns, feathered tails, etc. But they all have one thing in common, that is, their faces are dirty and their hair is messy. They do look like egg-stealing monkeys, but they don't look as fleshy as egg-stealing monkeys. Most of them are thin and weak. Do you know why I asked you to come today? Subai asked seriously. The first step he had to do was to let all these children know what they were doing instead of just following orders. You know, we are here to learn literacy, the furry kids responded in unison. Subai nodded with satisfaction and said, take out the wooden box that was just given to you. Witches, we all have them, but they don't. Do you want to share some with them? A child with dog ears pointed behind him. The last time he asked Uncle Gumu to make 24 wooden boxes, there were no children from other tribes. So now that there are other children, it is inevitable that the sand table will not be enough. Subai raised his eyebrows slightly, nodded and said. Well, you two can use one, and then give some to them. There is still a sense of comfort in his heart. The primitive tribes look very savage, and their hearts are also the purest. At least these children still think about other people. Yes, the furry kids nodded and said. Go and prepare some fine sand, Subai ordered to King Mua. Yes, Aoki nodded. Subai stood at the front of the classroom and said, what I want to teach you today are words that are often used in daily life. The furry kids all looked confused and just nodded mechanically. Subai sighed inwardly, thinking, these furry kids are used to being noisy, and now it's a little difficult to get them to read well. A few minutes later, King Mu prepared some fine sand, said, which, the sand is ready. Well, just pour it evenly into the box, don't pour too much, just spread it in a thin layer, Subai ordered. Yes, King Mu walked towards the children holding the wooden bucket. A few minutes later, all the wooden boxes were filled with sand. Yuying tilted her head and wondered, why do you pour sand into the wooden boxes? This is a sandbox for practicing writing. After writing, it can be restored to its original state and can be used all the time, Subai explained. So that's it, Yu Ying nodded thoughtfully. Subai stood up straight and said seriously, now I will teach you the most basic numbers, which are used to calculate the number of things. He wrote the Arabic numerals 1 to 10 with charcoal on a wooden board, turning it to face the furry children. Subai originally wanted to use a sandbox to write it for everyone to see, but once he stood it up, the words would disappear. If you write it and pass it to them to see, it will be a waste of time, and the weight is likely to be scattered. After thinking about it, it is better to use the wooden board to write bigger with charcoal and show it to them. Which are these symbols used to calculate the number of things? A little girl with a goat's horn asked. The other children also looked curious. They were a little curious when they saw the words for the first time. Subai nodded, very satisfied that the furry child could ask questions. At least he could ask questions. It means a desire for knowledge. He gave the wooden board to Aoki and asked him to hold it. He put his hands behind his back and said seriously, now you take out the sandbox and write on it according to what I wrote, step by step in order. The reason why I chose numbers to teach first is because they are simple and can be used in daily life. In addition, it is not too difficult to teach them when they are just starting to learn. Of course, pinyin will be taught later. Let them know how to write commonly used characters in daily life first. Okay. As for pinyin, word formation, or sentence making, we'll talk about it later. Yes, the furry children were all eager to try. The sand trays were all placed on the table. 2 furry children had a sand tray, and one of them began to draw on the side according to the words on the board. The fox-eared girl and the horned girl were also eager to try, but unfortunately there was no sandbox. Looking at the furry children dryly, Subai saw that they wanted to try, and smiled. You can practice with charcoal when you go back in the evening, that way you will learn faster. Yes, Yu Ying and the 2 nodded heavily. Subai put his hands behind his back and began to walk among the fur kids to see how they were writing. The more he looked at it, the more he wanted to laugh. All the numbers written by the fur kids were crooked and crooked, like that kind of crawling caterpillar. You should be more steady when writing, don't have shaking hands, and read clearly what is written on the board, Subai shouted loudly. What some children wrote were not Arabic numerals at all. The fonts were skewed, and some were written directly in weird symbols. Subai squatted in front of a child, took the sand tray, and said, I write, I'll show it to you once, you have to see clearly how to write it. He demonstrated to the furry children on the sand table. When writing, he wrote very slowly to ensure that they could see clearly. Do you understand? Subai asked softly. I understand, thank you, Wu. The boy nodded and thanked him, took the sandbox and started copying. A few minutes later, Subai checked around and found that he was writing well, so he started to teach other characters. Within an hour, he taught Chinese characters one after another. How to write from 1 to 10. That's it for today's teaching. When you go back in the evening, you will continue to practice, Subai warned. Wu, but what if there aren't that many sand tables? A furry child asked curiously. Subai blinked his eyes thoughtfully and said, you can find an open space at night and write with branches. The sand table will be there tomorrow. He planned to ask Uncle Gumu to make more. After all, many people will join the tribe in the future. In addition to this, he began to silently put paper making on the agenda. The importance of paper suddenly became self-evident. Yes, the furry kids said in unison. Next time before you ask a question, remember to raise your hand and you can continue practicing now, Subai warned. Got it, Wu. The furry kids responded again. Second update, please support and customize. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 93. Chapter 93, Paper making is on the agenda. 3 more please customize. After Subai left the classroom, he walked to the toilet and wanted to see how the sweet potatoes and peppers were growing. Woo, I know how to write what you just taught me. Yu Ying began to look forward to returning to the tent to write. Yan Hua blinked her red eyes and said with a proud look on her face, I also know, it looks very simple. When Subai was teaching, the two of them had been listening carefully. Sometimes they couldn't help but make gestures in their hands and murmur to themselves. Then let me see what you wrote when you get back, Subai said with a smile. This number is not difficult. The main thing is that the next Chinese character teaching is a little more difficult. But it won't be so soon. It has to wait until we move back to our ancestral home. And we have to have paper and pen are enough. Sand table is not a long-term solution after all. Yes, Yu Ying laughed softly. If you learn quickly, I can teach you how to write your own name. Subai smiled lightly. Yu Ying blinked her pink eyes and asked curiously, Wu, can you really teach us how to write our names? Yan Hua kept raising her hands and said lively, me, and I, Wu, I also want to know how to write my name. Subai watched Niao Jiao Niang keep raising her hands, and remembered what he had told the furry children in class. He nodded with a smile and said, okay, I will teach you how to write your name when I get back. Wu, I have taken good care of the sweet potatoes. Take a look. Yu Ying was looking forward to it. When Subai and others left the tribe to go to the spotted deer market, she would come over every day to look at the sweet potatoes. Of course, the fox-eared lady had to keep watering them and wanted them to grow faster. Thinking of after following the witch's advice, he changed it to once a day. Subai looked at the row of sweet potatoes and saw that they were indeed growing much better than when they were first inserted. He nodded with satisfaction and said, it is indeed well taken care of. Wait for the harvest, please eat more. Yes, Yu Ying responded immediately. Yan Hua scratched her head, with a look of confusion on her face, and muttered, is it pretty good? Why do I feel like nothing has changed? Subai really couldn't do anything to the horned lady, so he walked to see the pepper field with a smile. Yu Ying squatted in front of the pepper field, pouting her little mouth and muttering, which, I come here every day to see these peppers, but I feel like nothing has changed. Not that fast, it will take some time. Subai was a little dumbfounded. He felt that fox-eared lady was too anxious. He thought that things planted in this era would grow faster, but it didn't seem to be the case. It was the same growth cycle as before on the earth. How long will it take? Yu Ying asked curiously. Subai recalled the books he had read before and said bitterly, it will take a long time, from 60 to 100 days. Yu Ying's eyes widened and she asked in surprise, is it going to take so long? When the rainy season comes, we won't be able to eat? Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking. Subai pursed his lips and said. He still thought that it would be great if there was witchcraft to make plants grow quickly, so that improving the seeds could shorten the planting time. But just think about it, this kind of witchcraft should not be very likely to exist. Wu, what should I do? Yu Ying said worriedly. Check back in 2 days, it's time to sprout, Subai said optimistically. If it doesn't work at that time, it's okay to wait until there are plants before transplanting. After Subai looked at it for a while, he turned and left, going back to the tent to arrange other things. Tap tap tap. Yu Ying took the charcoal and asked, where should we practice? Subai took out a piece of animal skin and said, practice on it. Write today's numbers first. I will teach you how to do it later. Write name. Yes, Yu Ying nodded. Yan Hua also took the charcoal and followed the fox-eared lady on the table. The two of them discussed today's teaching content. Subai was in his position and began to think about what the tribe would do next. Things to develop. He took the charcoal, spread the animal skin on the table, and murmured to himself, the first one is to make paper, and there is also a pen. Without these, it is very inconvenient for me. Teaching, office work, etc. all require paper and pens. It is really inconvenient to use animal skins and charcoal. Using animal skins as paper is not only wasteful, but also inconvenient to store. Using charcoal as a pen is also it is not a long-term solution, and the written fonts are large and easy to blur. Sudbai closed his eyes and began to think, recalling what handmade paper was like on the other side of the earth. He pursed his lips and said paper making seems to be divided into several parts. The steps are not difficult at all, as long as you have the materials. Sudbai began to draw drawings on the animal skin. The prerequisite for making paper was a stone mill. He first drew a large round stone platform on the animal skin, and then drew a cylindrical stone. This completes the rough outline, and then only the fixed wooden sticks are needed, Sudbai murmured to himself. He continued to draw on the bottom of the animal skin. What he drew were some wooden sticks that fixed and pushed the stone mill. Fortunately, the method is simple, otherwise I would not be able to remember it, Sudbai said happily. Wu, what are you doing? We've already written it. Yanhua stood up and asked. Sudbai put down the charcoal and said with a smile, oh, bring it over and let me take a look. Yanhua dusted off the charcoal dust on the animal skin, handed it over with both hands and said, we are writing seriously, Sudbai looked at the numbers written by Niojiao Niang and said with satisfaction, it seems that they are listening to my lectures seriously. The writing is indeed good. Although it was the first time for Niojiao Niang and Niojiao Niang to write, the numbers they wrote were neat and neat. It didn't look like they were writing for the first time. Right? I wrote very seriously. Yanhua looked proud. Yuying was a little shy and asked weakly, Wu, we have finished writing the numbers. Can you teach us how to write names? Of course, you come and take a look. Sudbai picked up the charcoal and prepared to write for the two of them to read. Yuying nodded heavily, lay on the edge of the table and began to observe, and the same was true for Niojiao Niang. Third update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 94. Chapter 94, Real warriors are not afraid of getting dirty. One more request for customization. Sudbai laid the animal skin completely flat on the table, with stones pressing down on the four corners. He first looked at Niojiao Niang and said, Ahua, please read clearly. I will write your name first. Yes, which Yanhua nodded heavily. Sudbai wrote the name of Horn Lady on the animal skin, pushed it over and said, that's what your name is. Yanhua tilted her neck, curiously looked at the words on the animal skin, and said in surprise, is this my name? The word flame flower is clearly written on the animal skin. The strokes are clear and the font is large. It looks clear at a glance. Well, these two words are both up and down structures, so you can practice with them, Sudbai said softly. Yanhua nodded repeatedly, her red eyes staring at those two words, her face full of surprise. Wu, where is my name? Yuying started to look forward to it. I will write it to you now. Sudbai continued to write on the animal skin with a smile. Yuying's pink foxtail kept wagging, and she said in surprise, Wu, this is my name. Well, the structure of your name is more complicated, so you need to practice more. Sudbai warned. Yuying combed her pink hair and asked Wu, can I write it once for you to read? If something doesn't work, please point it out. I also want to write it once for Wu to read. Yanhua raised her hands repeatedly. Okay, I'll break out the fonts and the writing order so it's easier for you to understand, Sudbai said lightly, and then wrote on the animal skin. The fox-eared girl and the horned girl nodded heavily, and both looked at Sudbai expectantly. Sudbai dusted off the charcoal ash on the animal skin and said, okay, take it and learn from it. Thank you, Wu Yuying, and the two said with a smile. Sudbai looked at the two people's excited expressions and thought, sure enough, people in this era are still the purest. They are happy just knowing how to write their own names. He lowered his head and continued to look at the table. We still have to continue arranging the paper making work for the animal skins on the house. Subai pursed his lips, picked up the charcoal pen, and murmured to himself, now we need to find the raw materials for paper making. He squinted his eyes slightly and kept thinking, trying to remember what the raw materials for paper making were. It is not realistic to actually cut down wood to make paper, and there are no tools to cut down wood now. By the way, wheat straw can be used to make paper, but there is no wheat, so we need to find some other substitute. Subai suddenly got up. Wheat straw is the straw after mature and threshed wheat. It can also be used to make paper and weave some handicrafts. Subai blinked his black eyes and fell into distress. There is no wheat in this era, so he needs to find something else. Substitute. He thought for a moment, thought of dogtail grass, and murmured to himself, there should be a forest as big as this. Subai drew a rough outline on the animal skin and wanted Kang Shi and others to take a look at it when they went hunting. Yu Ying picked up the animal skin excitedly and said with a smile, look, I've finished writing. What do you think? Me too, I've finished writing it, and I think it's exactly the same, Yanhua agreed. Subai put down the charcoal, clapped his hands, raised his head and said, bring it over and let me take a look. As soon as he raised his head, he couldn't help but laugh. He didn't see the words written by the other party, but the faces of Niojiao Niang and others. The whole face was covered with charcoal gray, which looked very funny. It was probably smeared on when practicing calligraphy. Wu, what's wrong? We haven't even shown it to you yet, Yu Ying muttered. Puff. Yanhua couldn't hold it back when she saw fox-eared lady's face, her shoulders kept shaking, and she said with a smile, Xiao, why is your face dark again? Isn't it? I just finished washing. Yu Ying subconsciously touched her face, looked at Niojiao Niang, and teased Sister Ahua, you are the same. Yanhua was stunned for a moment, then said with an indifferent expression, it doesn't matter, a real warrior will inevitably be a little dirty. Bai really didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and said, bring it here, let me take a look. Yes. Yu Ying handed over the animal skin. Subai pursed his lips and said, Xiao Yu, your character is written a little too widely. Fox-ear girl's name was written very widely, and it didn't look like one character, more like it was split into two parts. Strokes. Yu Ying held her chin with both hands and muttered, but when I get close to them, they will turn into black balls. I can only write them apart. Subai suddenly realized, and there was nothing he could do with the charcoal pen. He said softly, let's wait until later. It will be easier to write after making a pen. Okay, let's take a look at what Sister Ahua wrote. Yu Ying nodded. Yanhua pursed her lips, put the animal skin on the table with an expectant look on her face, and said, what I wrote is different. Bai looked at the words written by Niojiao Niang, covered his face and said with a smile, Ahua, although you wrote very close, it is too close. The name written by Niojiao Niang is crossed with I, with the word flame overlapping up and down, and the word flower also overlapping up and down. These two characters look like they are riddled with holes, not like a Chinese character. Yanhua Shii pointing to his chin, he said helplessly, but when I write, my hands tend to shake unnaturally. Subai raised his eyebrows slightly, guessing that the horned lady might be very strong and she was exercising every day. It would be a bit difficult for her to write all of a sudden. Writing is not difficult to say, nor is it easy to say. It has to be done one stroke at a time. It's neat and tidy, but it's a bit challenging for those who have never been exposed to it. It doesn't matter, just practice more and it will be fine. You are already very good, Subai praised. After all, it is the first time for a primitive tribesman to write Chinese characters. It is already very good to be able to write like this. If you write it a few more times, it will not be bad. Yanhua gathered her black hair and asked seriously, can we really learn to read? Yes, Wu, Isn't it difficult to read? We can't even write our own names well. Why is Yueying? Of course, with me teaching you, you can definitely learn it, as long as you practice more, Subai said softly. That's good, thank you. Wu Yueying's pink eyes turned into slits with laughter. I will definitely take it seriously, and a warrior will not back down. Yan Hua also said seriously. Subai smiled happily and ordered, okay, Hua, go and ask Ken Shi to come. Yes, Yan Hua responded immediately, turned around and left the tent. Please update for support and customization. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 95. Chapter 95, She is not a bad person. 2 more please customize. After receiving the summons, Kang Shi stepped outside the main tent and said, which, can I come in? Come in. Subai tidied the animal skins on the table. Kang Shi opened the curtain, walked in, lowered his head slightly, and asked, which, do you have any plans for coming to see me? There is something for your hunting team to do. Subai nodded and said. Which, please give me your orders. Kang Shi said seriously immediately. Subai picked up the animal skin that he had just painted and said, when you go hunting, help me look for this thing. Kang Shi took the animal skin with both hands, looked at the pattern on it, and asked doubtfully, which, what is this? A kind of plant is called foxtail grass, also called Painazetum. It should be easy to recognize. Have you seen it before when you were hunting? Subai asked. The reason why it is also called Painazetum is because it is said that a dog's tail is drooping, while a wolf's tail is firm. And Painazetum has always been firm during its green period. It only drooped when it turned yellow. Kang Shi narrowed his eyes and looked at the pattern on the animal skin seriously. He shook his head and said, I have no impression, but this is the first time I heard this name. You should have seen it more or less, and its growth range is very wide. If you think about it carefully, Subai reminded. In fact, he was not sure whether there was Painazetum in this primitive era. But this plant is drought resistant, salt resistant, moisture resistant, almost disease-free, does not have strict requirements on soil conditions, grows rapidly, etc. Advantages. Moreover, the environment for the growth of plants in the primitive era was not bad, and it is unlikely that there would be no such plants. Because even plants similar to Rami could be found before, and plants with strong growth potential such as Painazetum are also likely to be found. That's right. Kang Shi's purple eyes kept turning, trying to recall the plants he encountered in the forest since the previous hunting. He frowned and murmured, I only saw some wild fruits and some vines. This kind of plant there are some, right? Looks a little familiar. As long as they look familiar, ask the people in the hunting team to pay more attention to these plants and bring back anything similar to me for a look, Subai ordered. Yes, Wu, we'll keep an eye out. Kang Shi responded immediately, and then asked curiously, Wu, can I ask, what do you want to do with this plant? You will know when you find it. This plant has many uses. If you can find it, it will be of great help to the development of the tribe, Subai said softly. He didn't want to make it so clear. Otherwise, with the character of the leader of the hunting team, he would be just like last time, just looking for plants and forgetting his own job. Yes, don't worry, Wu will definitely help you find this plant. Kang Shi immediately became serious when he heard that it was for the development of the tribe. What happened last time can't happen again this time. Hunting is the first priority, and looking for Painazetum second. Don't just focus on looking for plants without hunting, Subai warned seriously. Kang Shi scratched his head in embarrassment, nodded heavily and said, what happened last time will definitely not happen this time. Well, by the way, what about the totem warriors of those tribes? Subai thought of the wandering tribe. They are all pretty good, and there are 3 of them with good reflexes. Kang Shi looked excited and continued, the other ones are all strong totem warriors. When the time comes to transport the prey, These people should be able to help a lot. When Yeju, Xiaoya, and others joined the hunting team, he was originally wary. Unexpectedly, the other party was open and honest, tried his best during training, and had no other bad intentions in the tribe. These things are inevitable. Let Kangxi put down his prejudices and start trying to integrate them into the tribe. Oh, it seems like you get along pretty well with them. Subai is happy to see the situation. Yes, there is no problem for the time being, they all obey orders. Kangxi said with satisfaction. Subai sipped his saliva and continued to ask, how are the other young people, are there any good qualifications? There are quite a few. If you train more, it will be a matter of time before you become a totem warrior. Kangxi smiled and said. Very good, set a goal for them. Only when people have goals can they be motivated. Subai tapped his fingers on the table and continued, let them move towards the reserve warriors first. Yes, Wu, I will let them train with Aoki, Akatsuki and other preparatory warriors. Kangxi said seriously. Subai blinked his black eyes and asked, by the way, who is the most qualified among those totem warriors? It's a girl named Yeju. Her skills are really good. She seems to be at the peak of a junior totem warrior, Kangxi said without thinking. Night chirp. Su. Bai thought of the wolf-eared girl with a cold and cold personality, and said, if you come back from hunting tomorrow, ask her to come to me. I have something to arrange for her. Kang. She looked surprised and shook his head repeatedly. Wu, this is too dangerous. We can't let her get close to you. Although the other party performed very well during hunting, it is related to the safety of the witch, and this matter cannot be taken carelessly. Don't worry, if she wanted to attack me, she would have done it on my way back from Spotted Deer Market. Why wait until there were so many people in the tribe to take the risk again? Su. Bai sat up straight and continued, now that the people in her tribe are supported by us, she will not be so stupid. Those people just want to have a tribe, and they want to be led by witches, and food and drink are no problem. Now that these problems of Lang Er Niang have been solved, it is even less likely to have other thoughts. Kangxi, after thinking about it seriously, he responded seriously, yes, Wu, but please let me stay with you when she comes. No problem, Subai said with a smile, only in this way will the other party feel at ease. Yes, Wu, please wait a moment. I will take her back when she comes back tomorrow. Kangxi immediately responded, turned around and left the tent. Yanhua looked at the curtain that was still shaking and said, Wu, I don't think she is a bad person. I feel so too. Subai smiled softly. Second update, please support and customize. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 96. Chapter 496, Achieve Freedom in Seasoning. 3 more requests for customization. Subai returned to Yong'an building from the farmland early this morning. In addition to performing plant growth techniques in the morning, he also wanted to see the growth of the crops. Nothing else, because a batch of condiment seeds were planted some time ago, and now it is harvest time. Because the seeds of this batch of condiments can be of great use, Subai had wanted to open a barbecue restaurant in the tribe. But unfortunately, because of the scarcity of seasoning bottles, this idea has been shelved. It wasn't until the seasoning seeds were released some time ago that he changed his mind and immediately sowed the seeds and arranged for people to build a barbecue restaurant. Wu, what are these things? Yanhua asked curiously. After the horn girl finished training, she followed him to the farmland to harvest these crops. Although these crops smelled very fragrant, they looked very small and did not look like they could be eaten directly. In the past, the crops that can be eaten are not very small. Even if they are small, they are only about the size of a palm. This is the first time I have seen crops the size of small pebbles. These are all condiments, like this is cumin, this is sesame, this you know is chili, and this is, Subai patiently explained to Nyojiao Niang. This is a condiment, which can be said to be a must-have in a barbecue restaurant. Whether the barbecue is delicious or not depends on the presence or absence of these condiments. With these seasonings, those barbecues will taste much better than before with just a little salt. They are all weird names, but they sound pretty good. Yanhua blinked her red eyes and said. Although they are all unfamiliar words, these words sound better than the previous ones. Not only does the name sound nice, but the taste is also very good. Subai smiled and said, already a little impatient to try the barbecue. Woo, can these things be eaten directly? But it looks so small, how much do you need to eat to taste it? Yanhua muttered. Although she wanted to try the taste of these things, she would probably eat them if she took 2 or 3 handfuls of them, so she decided not to. Can be eaten directly. Subai raised his hand and pressed it, and continued, of course you can't eat it directly now, because the taste won't be that good. Yanhua retracted her hands angrily. After listening to the first half of the sentence, she wanted to get rid of it directly, but she didn't expect that there was the second half. She smiled awkwardly and asked Wu, how do you eat such words? You can eat grilled meat and sprinkle all these condiments on the grilled meat, Subai said gently. He still thought of those scenes of cumin dancing on the barbecue and couldn't help but drool. Barbecue? Are these things put on top of grilled meats like salt? Yanhua asked curiously. Well, you'll find out during lunch, Subai smiled mysteriously. He began to classify the condiments. After classifying, he put these things on a small linen cloth and beat them with a stone. This method doesn't work well, and the condiments produced must be too chunky, Subai murmured to himself. Yanhua kept watching the scene blankly, wondering what are you doing? She didn't understand why she had to waste all the condiments like this. Wouldn't it be better to eat them directly? I'm making condiments. It will be more delicious if I break some into pieces and sprinkle them evenly on the barbecue, Subai explained. So that's it, I thought Wu didn't want these things anymore. Yanhua shrugged her shoulders awkwardly. How can it be? Subai smiled lightly, stood up and started looking for a container that could crush these things. After a while, he found a wooden bowl and a short wooden stick of considerable thickness. Subai placed the cumin seeds again into the bowl, and then took a short wooden stick and started pounding. Dong dong dong. The wooden sticks hitting the wooden bowl kept making crisp sounds, and the cumin seeds in the bowl began to be pounded. After a few minutes, a bowl of evenly crushed cumin powder was ready. Smell it and see if it smells better this way. Subai picked up the wooden bowl. Yanhua put her delicate nose close to the wooden bowl, took a deep breath, and sighed. This smells even better than before. Right, many condiments need to be processed in this way to taste better. After Subai finished speaking, he continued to operate other condiments. He began to put sesame seeds, cumin powder, chili sauce into the jars, and other things, such as star anise, Sichuan peppercorns and so on. But this several items are relatively scarce, unlike the previous condiments which are relatively large. Wu, can we start the barbecue now? Yanhua looked at those bottles and jars in amazement. Yes, we can start having a luxurious barbecue at noon. Subai said softly. Very good, Yanhua couldn't help shouting happily. Tap tap tap. Time passed by, and Yuying held a stone slab and placed it on the fire pit. The stone slab was very thin and was specially used for barbecue. The fox-eared lady skillfully placed the meat slices on the stone slab. After the meat was almost roasted, she added the condiments on it. Zilla zilla. Some of the condiments fell on the fire and made a sizzling sound for an instant, and the fragrance spread instantly. Wow, it smells so good. It tastes even better than what I had before. Yuying sighed instantly. Although she had eaten barbecue and some condiments before, This is the first time that there are such complete varieties like this one. As long as it tastes good, I will open a barbecue restaurant in the tribe in the future. Subai smiled and said, this is his main purpose today. Barbecue shop, the girls wondered in unison. Third update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 97. Yi and I kept walking forward with excitement. After hearing about the Yanlong tribe, she wanted to see it immediately. She fiddled with her green hair and said softly, if it is true as Alu said, the Yanlong tribe is really worth going to. The tiger-eared girl was not much happier now, and her original dissatisfaction was gone. And empty. She began to feel glad that her father had let her come. If she didn't come this time, she might have to listen to others show off again. It should all be true. The Green Vine tribe has been friends with our tribe for so many years, so it is impossible for them to lie to us. Ci blinked his orange eyes and continued, what's more, they did change a lot of things. If I had known, I would have just asked Alu to open those for us to see, so that we could know in advance, Uni said regretfully. The tiger-eared girl was only interested in asking about the Yanlong tribe and didn't bother to look at the goods. Anyway, we are almost there, so hurry up and get on your way. Ci stood on tiptoes and looked ahead. She looked up at the sky from time to time, worried that it would suddenly rain again. If it rained, it would be bad. They had to find a hidden place immediately to dry the meat. Hide it? These dried meats are dried in advance. If it rains, they will easily get wet and moldy. Once they get wet and moldy, the value will be much lower, and there is no way to exchange it for anything good. Yes, if it rains we will have to finish all these things, Fujiwara agreed. Tap tap tap. The team in the forest was moving quickly, obviously much faster than usual. Perhaps due to the weather, and the fact that the Yanlong tribe was indeed approaching soon, everyone was very motivated. At first, everyone didn't know how far away it was. It wasn't until the people from the Green Vine tribe arrived that they realized that the Yanlong tribe was not far away. More than 2 hours later, the people from the Daihu tribe hurriedly arrived at the Yanlong tribe. It was still afternoon at this moment, and everyone looked up at the weather and breathed a sigh of relief. When you find that the dark clouds in the sky have quietly dispersed, you don't have to worry about the dried meat getting wet. Is this the Yanlong tribe? What a strange place. Uni kept scanning around the tribe. She found that a lot of land at the entrance of the tribe had been dug up, and many strange plants were planted on it. And some plants were even put up on shelves. The important thing is that these strange plants are everywhere. Very wide area. Why do they grow so many useless things? Is it just to look good? Ci also didn't understand very much. No one in the tribe would eat these things. At most, they would eat some wild fruits. Plants like these are used to apply on wounds, or to be dried in the sun and used as beds. There was also a strong smell, like the smell of wild beasts. Uni covered her nose and waved her hand. The fox-eared lady noticed the 2 large wooden houses at the entrance of the tribe and felt that the smell seemed to come from there. I also smelled it. Maybe it was a wild beast they raised, and they wanted to wait for a while before eating it. Ci guessed. It's unnecessary, a waste of time and food, Fujiwara said disdainfully. He didn't want to say anything at first. He kept looking at the Yanlong tribe with a frown, keeping a careful eye on it. The main task this time was to protect the safety of the chief's daughter, and he had to take into account the surrounding situation, so every time when everyone is talking, laughing or taking a rest, he has to be alert. Ignore it for now, just go in and take a look and you will know. Uni fiddled with her blue hair. Tap tap tap. When everyone came to the door, they still saw the people setting up stalls and the people stationed at the door asking for weapons to be confiscated. Fujiwara exploded at first. He was very angry and turned around to leave. No warrior is willing to hand over his weapons to another tribe for safekeeping. This is undoubtedly leaving his most vulnerable back to others. As a warrior, this cannot be allowed under any circumstances, which is why he is so angry. But in the end, after the persuasion of Yi, Ci and others, there were also people from the tribe setting up stalls at the door. And what the Green Vine tribe had said in advance, he could only grit his teeth and compromise. After spending so much time and energy to get here, he couldn't go back empty-handed. The Yanlong tribe has gone too far. Why should they confiscate our weapons? The more Fujiwara thought about it, the angrier he became. If he didn't want to give face to the chief's daughter and complete the task of changing things, he would have left anyway. As you just saw outside, the things in the Yanlong tribe are really good. It's a pity that we left like this. Uni blinked her green eyes and continued, anyway, so many tribes have come to the Yanlong tribe, and nothing happened to them, so don't worry. Tiger-eared girl feels quite relieved. Apart from being impressed by those goods, the most important thing is the words of ALU's people. Did you just hear that? We can stay here at night and eat here. Ci is looking forward to it. She has never heard of a tribe that can not only take in people from other tribes, but also have a place for other tribes to eat. This tribe is really special, from the places where plants are planted at the door. You can tell. And the soldiers who specially guarded the door actually wanted to confiscate their weapons. This is also one of the special places. But these are nothing to them. What shocked them the most was the building. The cement house and the flat road on the ground really shocked them. What shocked them was how could a house be built from stones? How could this stone road be so smooth? And the carriages speeding by on the road. But everyone didn't know that it was a carriage. They only knew that it was a wooden box pulled by a beast, and they didn't know what it was for. This tribe is it's like existing in a dream. Uni sighed. The tiger-eared girl kept her green eyes wide open, looking around in shock at the surrounding environment and people. There are too many strange things in this tribe, and these strange things cannot be explained, but it seems and it's very good. No tribe is like this, so the tiger-eared lady said that this place is like a dream. Indeed, it was really great. Sure enough, we were right. Ci nodded repeatedly. Everyone hadn't started shopping seriously yet, but they were completely impressed after just taking a look. It's surprisingly clean here. Fujiwara couldn't help but speak. He was still immersed in irritable emotions, but now that he saw the inside of the Yanlong tribe, this emotion dissipated a lot. Second update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 98. Chapter 98, Cut its throat. 2 more please customize. That is to jump behind it and kill it, Yeju said coldly. The wolf-eared girl was holding the stone knife tightly and was ready, her eyes looked particularly serious. Hua Ming saw the other party's appearance and asked, are you going to fight it? Well, you cover for me and attract its attention first, and I will take the opportunity to jump behind it, Yeju said seriously. No, it's too risky. De Gua immediately stopped him. The advantage of the six-eyed red bird is that it can run fast and has great strength, but its advantage is that it cannot take care of its back. Yeju continued without any unnecessary expression on his face, and its long neck is also its weakness. As long as you find the right opportunity to jump on the back of the six-eyed red bird and cut its throat, you can win. What if you didn't jump on the back of the six-eyed red bird? De Gua asked back. In the past few days, he and Hua Ming had long regarded the totem warriors of those tribes as members of the Yanlong tribe. Naturally, they were unwilling to see them take risks, no matter who they lost. Which makes people feel sad. If you can trust me, just give me a witch domino, and we'll have to go back in a hurry, right? Yeju was straightforward. Lang Niang felt that if there was a witch domino that increased physical strength and speed at this time, it would really be even more powerful. With her usual reflexes, speed, and the blessing of the witch domino, from the tree it is still possible to jump on the back of the six-eyed red bird. The totem warriors of those tribes do not have witch dominoes, and it will take some time for them to have them. This is to prevent them from having witch dominoes when they go out hunting. Sometimes they do something bad to Dagwa and the others. After all, we are all junior totem warriors, and they are from several other tribes. No one knows what they are thinking. Give you witch dominoes? Dagwa asked with a frown. That's right, witches should be able to perform witchcraft, right? If this is the case, then there should be witch dominoes that increase physical strength and speed. Yet. Ju paused for a moment and continued, as long as there are witch dominoes, I am sure to completely subdue them. The six-eyed red bird began to make noise again, its feet stamped hard on the ground, and its black and red wings flapped. What to do? It started barking again, shouted a totem warrior. Call. Ah! A sound broke through the air, and Frog once again threw a stone at the six-eyed red bird. The call of the six-eyed red bird suddenly stopped, and all six eyes stared at Frog fiercely. What Frog was thinking at the moment, yes, if he were on the ground, he would definitely be torn into pieces by it. After listening to Lang Er Niang's words, Dagwa looked at Waming, and their eyes met. Okay, I can give you a witch domino. Dagwa took out a piece from the animal skin bag and threw it over. Yeju grabbed the witch domino with one hand and said, Frog Sing, help me cover it. Okay, just relax. Waming nodded seriously. Big boss, I'll cover you too. Xiao Ya showed a pair of big front teeth. He reached into the animal skin bag he carried and took out a stone. He just saw frogs picking up stones on the ground, and he also picked up several pieces. Big boss, I will also help you attract the attention of the ferocious beast, the mountain bear shouted after him. Well, make sure not to let it notice me, Yeju responded. The wolf-eared lady's gray eyes kept scanning the surroundings, trying to find the best position to jump down from. Call. Guys, look at me here. Xiaoya threw a stone at the six-eyed red bird. Come up here, aren't you going to eat us? Then come up quickly, the mountain bear also shouted. Frog kept weighing the stone in his hand and said, Yeju, now is the time. Nu Yeju jumped and ran to another tree, squinting his eyes slightly and waiting for the frog to throw the last stone. Call. As the sound of breaking through the sky sounded, Yeju used the witch domino at the same time, charged up his feet and jumped off the branch. Call out. The wolf-eared girl did a forward somersault and landed on the back of the six-eyed red bird. The whole process was so smooth that no one could catch the shadow. The six-eyed red bird felt someone behind it, and its screams became even more violent. Its black and red wings were spread wide and kept flapping. Tap tap tap. The six-eyed red bird circled in place several times, and then started running wildly, so crazy that it couldn't stop running. Night chirping. Dagwa shouted, watching the six-eyed red bird and the wolf-eared girl leave his sight. Big boss. What should I do? The big boss and the six-eyed red bird are missing, Xiao Ya said worriedly. Dagwa turned over and jumped to the ground, picked up the spear, and said, Frog Ming, come with me to check it out. The others continue to stay in the trees. Good. Frog Ming also jumped to the ground and picked up several stones to put in. Yes, Xiao Ya and other totem warriors responded. No need to come to me. Yeju walked out of the bushes unscathed, dragging the body of the six-eyed red bird with her. The wolf-eared girl's gray hair fell down, and her face and body were covered with the blood of the beast. There was a big cut on the red bird's neck, and the wound was bleeding visibly to the naked eye. The wolf-eared girl still had the witch power of the dominoes in her body, so it was easy to pull the whole six-eyed red bird. It scared me to death. It's okay, Waming breathed a sigh of relief. If something goes wrong with Lang Er Niang, it will affect the people she brought with her. What's more, they have already regarded Lang Er Niang as a member of the Yanlong tribe, so naturally they don't want them to something happened. Great, The big boss is fine. The mountain bear jumped down from the tree. I knew the big boss would be fine, Xiaoya echoed. Degua put away the spear that he was holding tightly, nodded and thanked. This time it's all your credit. Yeju wiped the blood of the ferocious beast on his face and said, it's because your witch dominoes are so useful. Okay, let's pack up and return to the tribe immediately. We can't stay here for long, Degua said seriously. Yes, everyone responded. Second update, please support and customize. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 99. Chapter 99, No Simple Task. 3 more, please customize. The twilight is getting thicker and thicker, the sun gradually puts away its yellow light, and the sky looks as black as a crow. Not far from the Yanlong tribe, there were several figures, each of them dragging a huge beast behind them. The hunting party is back. I don't know who in the tribe shouted. The tribe, which was originally quiet because of the darkness, suddenly became lively. Children and adults all ran to the outside of the tribe to welcome the return of the hunting team. Every time they came back from hunting, they always caused a stir. Everyone is paying attention. Yan Jiao and Kang Shi have also been waiting outside the tribe for a long time, wanting to see the results of this hunting that they are waiting for. Big boss, we're back. Degua stood up straight and said. Kang Shi looked at the prey behind him, with a look of satisfaction on his face, and praised. Yes, there are more prey this time than expected. Yes, it was enough to feed the tribe for a long time. Yan Jiao nodded with satisfaction. Kang Shi saw a six-eyed red bird behind Yeju, frowned slightly, and said worriedly, none of you are injured, right? Yan Jiao noticed Kang Shi's slight expression, followed his gaze, and saw the ferocious beast. He glanced at the totem warriors who were hunting to make sure no one was injured, and then asked this: where were the ferocious beasts hunted? We all know the ferocity of the six-eyed red bird, as well as its running speed and destructive power. It's still a bit difficult for a few junior totem warriors to defeat the six-eyed red bird, but now they can actually hunt it. One was brought back. Although this six-eyed red bird is a purebred ferocious beast, the ferocious beasts of this group are known for their speed, and they are also gregarious ferocious beasts. It is still a bit difficult to deal with them. Of course, unless you have extremely strong reflexes. No one was injured. This ferocious beast was hunted in the previous hunting ground reported by Deguawi. Thanks to Yeju this time, otherwise we might not have been able to go so smoothly, Frogming said gratefully. Yes, it's really thanks to her, otherwise we wouldn't know how to deal with it, seeing this kind of ferocious beast for the first time, another totem warrior said. Kang Shi walked to the six-eyed red bird and found that there was only one wound on his body, and that was the knife on the neck. There were no wounds except there. It can be said that he was killed with one knife, mainly with 6 the speed of the six-eyed red bird. In addition, there is only one wound on the body and no other wounds. No matter how you look at it, it is a bit scary. In other words, the six-eyed red bird was subdued in one move, and there was no extra fighting situation. Kang Shi turned around and asked seriously, Yeju, tell me how you hunted the six-eyed red bird. You forgot to take her to see a witch first. Yan Jiao reminded. Kang Shi slapped his forehead and said, I almost forgot. Degua and Frogong, you can take the prey down and rest. Yes, Captain Degua and others nodded and said. Does the witch want to see me? Yeju asked doubtfully. Kang Shi nodded and walked ahead, saying, come with me to see the witch. On the way, you can tell me how to hunt the six-eyed red bird. Yes. Yeju was stunned for a moment and then followed him and said, we were in a red fruit forest at that time. Suddenly. A few minutes later, Kang Shi listened to Lang Er Niang's statement, and his impression of her changed again. I thought that the wolf-eared girl was not only strong, but also had excellent reaction and adaptability. He can be regarded as a qualified leader. In time, he will be able to better protect the tribe. Tap tap tap. A few minutes later, Kangxi led Lang Erniang to the main tent. After receiving permission, he opened the curtain and walked in. Wu, I brought Yeju. They just came back from hunting, Kangxi said respectfully. Yeju put his left hand on his chest and said softly, "Witch." She was still a little surprised that Subai was a witch. After all, after traveling together for so many days, the other party was not exposed at all. Although Kangxi stepped aside, he did not relax at all and looked straight at him. Looking at the wolf-eared girl. As long as the other party makes any moves, he can ensure that he subdues the opponent immediately. Subai stopped what he was doing, looked up at the wolf-eared girl, and said with a smile, "Welcome back." He saw that there was still a lot of blood on the body of the wolf-eared girl, and there were many leaves on her hair. Although it was not clean, the pretty appearance of the wolf-eared girl was still fully revealed. Thank you. Wu Yeju was stunned for a moment. This was the first time someone said welcome to her. How does it feel to hunt with the tribe this time? Subai asked softly. It has the same tribal feel as before, but the difference is that your witch dominoes are really easy to use, Yeju said without thinking. It's not like she has never used it before, but this is the first time she has used such a powerful witch domino, and she didn't feel weak at all after using it. Subai raised his eyebrows slightly, a little surprised by the wolf-eared lady. This time, which dominoes were actually used? He shook off his thoughts and asked, "Tell me about this hunting. I just heard it was very lively outside." "Yes," which Yeju nodded and repeated what he said to Kangxi. "Oh? Six-eyed red bird? Sounds interesting, I'll check it out later." Subai is actually interested in this kind of ferocious beast. "Wu, the meat of this ferocious beast is very good, you can try it tonight," Kangxi added on the side. As the leader of the hunting team, he has naturally eaten the meat of such ferocious beasts. "Wu, why did you come to see me this time?" Yeju asked softly. Subai sipped his saliva, looked at the wolf-eared lady seriously, and said in a deep voice, "Now there is something I want you to do." Yeju also became serious and responded without thinking, "Ask the witch for instructions. This matter is not simple, and it is a bit dangerous, so you have to be mentally prepared," Subai said word by word. "As long as the witch orders me, I will do my best to complete it." Yeju's grey eyes flashed with a sharp look. Kangxi on the side suddenly became serious for some reason. Third update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 100. Chapter 100, The Right Candidate. One more requests for customization. Subai tapped his fingers on the table, his black eyes looked directly at the wolf-ear girl, and ordered, "I want you to monitor the Black Snake tribe and pass the information back." Yeju was stunned for a moment. "I didn't expect it to be this mission." After coming back to my senses, he responded, "Yes." Subai nodded and warned, "This mission is not easy. You must hide your whereabouts and avoid being discovered by the other party." "Wu, am I the only one going?" Yeju wanted to know if he had any companions. "If you want, you can pick someone to go with you, or you can do it yourself." Subai followed the other party's advice. It is naturally better to monitor the Black Snake tribe with fewer people, and they must be people with good skills and strong adaptability. I can do it by myself, but it would be better if I could bring one more person with me. Yet. Ju stood up straight and continued, "The second person can help me pass on the information to you, while I can continue to stare at the other person." "That's right. Who do you want to go with you? Blackteeth? Or Mei Mang?" Subai asked. "Wu, I want to take Bai Si with me. She has been with me for a long time and I have a good rapport with her," Yeju requested. "Bai Si and Lang Er Niang are from the same tribe. She is a monkey ear girl and a totem warrior. She is also very skilled. Subai raised his eyebrows slightly and nodded without hesitation. No question, just take her there. Yes, thank you. Wu Yeju bowed his head and thanked. You must be careful during surveillance this time so as not to be discovered by the other party. Let BSI report back any information as soon as possible, Subai warned again. Understand, we will hide ourselves, Yeju immediately responded. Lang Niang is known for her strong and light skills, and is the best choice to monitor the Black Snake tribe. Subai nodded with satisfaction and added, you should go back and rest first. We haven't hunted yet. Have a good rest. Thanks Wu, these are minor issues. Yeju felt warm in her heart again. Get some rest before setting off tomorrow, and I will give you the witch dominoes, so don't be reluctant to use them. Subai asked the fox-eared lady to take out the witch dominoes from the box, and continued, when you use them, ask BSI to come back and get them. Of course, it would be better if you don't have to use them. He still hopes that nothing will happen to the two of them. There are too few talents available in the tribe now. Losing anyone is a loss for the tribe, and the strength of Lang Niang is indeed good. Yeju picks up passing a bag of witch dominoes. She opened it and took a look. Her gray eyes immediately widened. She doubted whether her eyes were wrong. After confirming again, she asked, which, did you give me too many witch dominoes? There are 8 witch dominoes in the animal skin bag, 4 witch dominoes for healing and 4 witch dominoes for blessing. There are 2 of you, and it takes a long time to go there. 2 pieces of each kind of witch dominoes is not too much, Subai explained. Yeju began to have a different impression of Subai. At first, she only thought that he was a young shaman and didn't understand other aspects. But since entering the tribe, most of the more than 200 people among them some people have been assigned to work. They have not been looked down upon by the Yanlong tribe because they are from other tribes. On the contrary, children can still learn to read, young adults can go to training, and totem warriors have been assigned go hunting, patrolling and guarding, etc. If these were not arranged by the witch, it is unlikely that the people of the Yanlong tribe would be like this. It would be good if they were not driven away. Yeju struggled for a while and plucked up the courage to ask, which, why do you trust me so much? You deserve to be trusted, and if you choose to join our tribe, then you are a member of the Yanlong tribe. Su Bai paused deliberately and continued to ask, isn't it right to trust the people of the tribe? Yeju didn't know what to say for a moment. He nodded heavily and said seriously, which, I will definitely complete this mission. Well, go get some rest, Subai said with a smile. Yes. Yeju responded softly, turned around and left the tent. Kang Shi saw the leaving figure of Lang Niang, turned his head and said in shock, Wu, did I hear you right just now? Subai raised one eyebrow. Wu, I'm talking about monitoring the Black Snake tribe. Kang Shi still hasn't recovered a little bit. Did I look like I was joking just now? Subai asked back. Kang Shi shook his head repeatedly, suppressing his excitement, and asked curiously, which, do you have a way to deal with the Black Snake tribe? That's why Yeju was asked to monitor. Bai raised his shoulders and explained, not yet, but you have to know the other party's situation, right? Yes, they need someone to watch them. No one knows what those guys will do. Kang Shi nodded like he was pounding garlic. There will always be a way to deal with the Black Snake tribe, don't worry yet. Subai said lightly. Kang Shi blinked his purple eyes and said seriously, which, is it a little dangerous to give her so many witch dominoes at one time? Subai sipped her saliva, raised her eyelids and said, just watch, she won't be that kind of person. But Wu, I think among the people who monitor the Black Snake tribe, there must be one of us, right? Kang Shi worriedly said. In fact, it's not that I haven't thought about it, but other totem warriors in the tribe are easily motivated. Bai put down the stone cup and continued, this kind of task still needs a calm and steady person to carry out. This mission of monitoring the Black Snake tribe is very important. It involves whether the tribe can regain its ancestral land and defeat the opponent. He originally wanted people from the tribe to follow him, but the suitable candidates had other arrangements. The remaining people, well, they are also afraid that because they are blinded by hatred, their mission will fail and their current whereabouts will be exposed, which will be more costly than gain. So that's it, Kangxi suddenly realized. There is no room for failure in this mission, so don't tell anyone else about Yeju's mission to monitor the Black Snake tribe, Subai warned. I see, Kangxi responded without hesitation. Please update for support and customization.